All right. Hello, I'm Nathan Kettler. Welcome to my inverted classroom on crabs. Welcome to my room. All right, let's get going. I have done my inverted classroom on the diet of the coconut crab. Um, it's an invertebrate, a crab that I find particularly interesting. So, and its diet is especially fascinating, I think. So let's get into it. Slide here. Apologies. Okay. Um, so the coconut crab, binomial nomenclature, the Latin name is Birgus salatro, and it is the largest extant land-living arthropod. Um, and it's probably at the upper limits of what life with an exoskeleton allows in the modern world, in the Holocene, Anthropocene, whatever you want to argue. You may have heard of larger arthropods, in the prehistoric past, Carboniferous, and a lot of that has to do with the allowed oxygen in the atmosphere. There's less oxygen in our atmosphere today. These are the upper limits of arthropods, animals with exoskeletons, and yeah, pretty cool. The coconut crab is kind of living on the extreme here in that regard. They are about 1 meter, 3 feet, 3 inches in length from leg to leg, 4.1 kilograms, 9 pounds in weight. They're also actually the largest species of hermit crab. I should say there are many terrestrial hermit crabs. This is the largest of them all, terrestrial or aquatic. And in the adult here, as you can see in these quite scarring really images, the adults don't use the shells of gastropods of snails as most hermit crabs do. And their range is large, spanning most of the Indo-Pacific here, a lot of the Indo-Pacific. And we're about to learn why the widespread range. In the Indo-Pacific, the widespread distribution of the coconut crab closely mirrors that of a coconut trees and a variety of other fleshy fruited tropical tree species. The coconut tree itself is not like the number one fruit. I think that the crab actually eats. It eats a wide variety of similar, droops and things like that. But it closely mirrors the range here of this species and its relatives. You can see here. We'll compare the two real quick. Yeah, pretty good. And to do this, they have a lot of adaptations for this diet. Drupes can be tough, hardy fruits. Think of a coconut, built for dropping high from trees and traveling far over the open ocean. Naturally, the coconut crab has developed specialized adaptations for eating such a fruit. And yeah, I found this really interesting. I was looking these guys up, and this is unusual for crabs, crustaceans even. They have a highly developed sense of smell, which they use for finding the fruits, flowering plants, angiosperms, which is a trait convergent with insects. If you think about pollinating insects, they're basically, they more developed senses of smell for finding those things. So yeah, it's arisen several times within arthropods. And upon using their sense of smell to find that fallen fruit, the crab uses its sizable chellae, pincers as we usually call them, to cut the fruit off the husk. After cutting the husk, the crab will climb up the tree about 33 feet up, and it drops the fruit from this height, and then it leaves the fruit accessible to the crab. What's actually kind of funny about these guys is that from a moderate height, I should have put the height on this slide. Instead of climbing back down, they'll just sort of, they'll fall back down the tree basically within a height that they know won't kill them, which is interesting. However, the coconut crab it's no vegetarian. It's no just like island living hippie or anything. It instead enjoys the diet of an opportunistic omnivore, and they have been observed eating a wide variety of things other than meat. They're opportunist. I think it's kind of interesting how the sense of smell might also tie into a wide variety of carrion here. Um, they eat their own shedded exoskeletons, tortoise turtle hatchlings, probably sea turtles making their way to the ocean after hatching. Smaller species of crabs. You got the Christmas Island crab down here. Rats, domestic kittens. Cannibalism also occurs. And then, there's one particularly famous video that surfaced a couple of years back that I'm about to show you. And it is a coconut crab killing a seabird, a red-footed booby. I included this photo down here. This is actually a red-footed booby I saw in the Galapagos Islands. Coconut crabs don't live in the Galapagos, but if they did, they'd probably eat them there too. Let's see if I can pull this up. Okay, here's the video. It's a little scarring, viewer discretion.
Need a professional website? I created one for our startup using Wix.
Get out of
Let me
here.
show you how I did it. First, go to wix.com.
Yeah, okay. Then you get the idea. Fast forward a little bit to save some time, but yeah, apparently how do we get out of here? The crabs swarmed on the bird not long after. The sense of smell brought them to the corpse, and they went from there. Tore it apart. There's a lot of studies on how the red-footed booby will perch at different levels of the tree. There's a little excerpt here about that, depending on if there's crabs on the forest floor or not. Sorry. Taking it a step further, there may be a coconut crab connection, its diet in relevance to American history. Amelia Earhart, who I'm sure you all know, doesn't need much introduction. Born 1897, died around 1937. We'll get to that. Record-setting aviation pioneer, feminist icon, and known for her mysterious disappearance in 1937 during her attempt at a circumglober flight. Disappeared in the Pacific on a stretch between New Guinea and the isolated coral Howland Island. And her body, of course, was mysteriously never found. This is that stretch she was on. Here she was in New Guinea, going to, can't see the Howland Island. Oh, right here, yeah, Howland Island, sorry. And then she was gonna, but along her route, she mysteriously disappeared. There's a wide variety of theories as to why that is that I'll get into. And one such theory, out of the many, some of them have been more logical, more plausible. She just makes a lot of sense. She just crashed into the ocean, unfortunately, but how they quickly died on impact. There's a lot of absurd stuff you could probably hear on late night history channel, aliens or something, but this one is not totally out of the question. I've read some articles about this. Smithsonian here talked about it. The coconut crab may play a part in why Amelia Earhart was never found. There is a school of thought, which is that Amelia Earhart, or just her body, was never found sorry, because coconut crabs, native to the islands in this area, and being the opportunists they are, as I talked about, that they'll eat anything. They may have overcome a dead or dying Amelia Earhart and eaten her, eaten her, eaten her. Backing this theory, a small piece of human bone was found in 1940 on an island in the Niku Maroro Atoll, which is not far from Earhart's route back here at all. A lot of atolls in this area, which are, this isn't exactly a proven theory. It's not the most like, a lot of the big theories about this sort of thing will go on about, the crash and died on impact, but it's really not like, I really don't feel like I'm being that or Smithsonian here or whoever isn't really it's not that crazy to suggest. I mean, like, it's realistic that the coconut crabs, being the opportunists they are, could have scavenged her body, and that's why she was never found. Small piece of bone was discovered, and it's a compelling and possible, however morbid it may be. But that begs the question, like, if that were to happen, are they deadly? Are coconut crabs a deadly animal? Are they to be afraid of? If that was true, if Amelia Earhart was indeed eaten by them, then this really was a rare scenario, rare case. And generally, we humans pose a much greater threat to the coconut crab than they do to us. On the maps that I pulled up earlier in this presentation, the one for the crabs range, the one for the trees, there were some patches there. It's not perfect, and a lot of those imperfections are because in a lot of the more densely populated areas, shores, and islands, where there's more people, Australia, Madagascar, coconut crabs were once found in these places. A lot of the trees they probably would eat from, are still there, and that's because they're heavily sought after for their meat. It's seen as a delicacy in some areas, especially on some islands where there isn't a lot of other meat to be had, sizable meat to be had, at least from the land. And then, other coconut crabs, as I mentioned, they can be cannibalistic, and humans are the only natural predators of the adult coconut crab. They were listed as vulnerable, so that's sort of the level above endangered, but below like least concern, you might say, in the early 80s. They were updated, there being deficient data in 1996, but there have been conservation measures implemented in some countries, like Tuvalu, one of the tiniest countries in the world. There's reserved beaches for them to live. There are several laws on how big the coconut crab has to be for you to kill it. And yeah, I just think these are interesting animals, and there's a lot to be said about their diet. Yeah, I used the Smithsonian article, and okay. Well, thanks for listening and watching. Bye.